Logan House Publishing Audio. We Were Heroes. Invasion Day. The Fiendish Dr. Skar and Timmy. By J.R. Logan. Dr. Skar Scarello kissed his wife as he left his retirement condo in Florida. He drove north on US 77. Doc had been away for years, returning once after his retirement when his grandson Timmy was born. At US 70, he turned west to Columbus. His legs cramped every few hours, and he peed a lot, making it a long drive. "I'm getting old. I used to be able to sit in the pilot seat for days," Doc thought. In 79, Doc Skar had done the mechanized cannonball in 35 hours. New York City to Redondo Beach in a bipedal mech rated for the Unlimited Division. To finish the race was an engineering feat, let alone avoiding the heroes. It was over 20 years ago. He staggered from the car, stiff after driving. The suburb of Dublin, Ohio, where his son lived, had stayed the same over the last decade. The neighborhood had been a good cover for a supervillain starting a family. A ranch home with a white picket fence and the perfect square lawn. Not the way Doc would have done things, and they got caught. The house had Janelle's hand all over it. The kitchen had pink countertops with teal cabinet doors, all in Bakelite. Every appliance was in brilliant white and chrome. She had gone so far as to rewire the coffee maker with an old-school braided nylon electrical cable. It felt like he was in a television studio imitating the 1950s. "Thanks for coming up, Dad," Mike said. They drank coffee in the kitchen. Doc stood after the long drive. Mike had the same thin boyish look to him, the part on the left side of his hair and the physical presence of a grocery clerk, until he put on the mask. "I'm not going to let someone else raise my grandson." "Did you file for a League of Science amnesty?" Doc said. Mike set the cup down and looked out the window. "I did after the feds found us. They threatened to take Timmy away. I'm still waiting to hear from the lawyers." "It gets complicated," Mike said. "I never trusted the feds," Doc said. "Calling you was my only choice left," Mike said. "You made a hard choice. The feds may not trust me with Timmy for long, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Doc said. "Dad, we wanted Timmy to have a normal life," Mike said. Doc downed the coffee. "Your mother and I gave that up long ago. I'll take care of things here until our lawyers can get you or Janelle out." "It's your family, so I'll do things your way," Doc said. Two black SUVs pulled into the driveway. 5 tall men in business casual got out. They waited a few seconds behind the heavy SUV doors. The marshals used big boys for prisoner transport, each with lean and sharp defined muscles. Baseline advanced humans, super strength and invulnerability, but still flesh and bone, Doc thought. "They're early," Mike said as he looked out the kitchen window. Doc watched the marshals as they came up the walkway. Doc knew from experience they would only enter the house if given a reason. Mike opened the door. The deputies waited for Janelle and Mike to say goodbye to Timmy. Doc tried not to have a hard look as he stayed with them at the door. But there was too much history for him to hide how he felt. Doc found it amusing as realization slowly crossed the deputies' faces. Doc smiled. "Yes, it's the old devil himself," Doc thought. "But you're not after me. And it would help if you had more people." They paused at the door, unsure. "Would you boys like some coffee?" Doc said. "No thank you sir," the marshal said. Doc's eyes scanned the driveway. "Mike has to have a few zap guns. We could shoot our way out and get to the lair. Then, fire up the giant robots and make a move on the city." Doc felt excited about the plan. It had been a long time out of the pilot's seat. No, the days of mechanized rampage are gone. Mike and Janelle wanted it like this. And Mike had given his word to behave to save his family. He turned away as the steel cuffs ratcheted down on Mike's wrists. Doc walked into Timmy's room. It was neat and orderly. The bookshelf showed the classics, Maxwell's Equations, and the 1967 Scout Handbook. The other books were modern but tech-related. On the shelf next to the books was a Captain Buckeye action figure. Not Doc's favorite person. That stupid O on the gray and scarlet body stocking, Doc thought. The action figure had Lance, Buckeye, Armstrong's likeness down perfectly. The blonde hair, the stupid grin, the muscular symmetry only a fantasy artist could achieve, and the perfect teeth. It amazed Doc that Mike had gotten away with running a toy company on the side selling action figures of the heroes he hated. But Doc got his cut of the royalty checks. Around the room were other heroes of Columbus action figures, Kimberly Star and Red Bullet. Doc knew Bullet before he became a hero when Red was a skinny black kid working speed hustles from the rough side of Cincinnati. Kimberly Star was new. I'll need the chief goon to brief me on her, Doc thought. The limited edition Super Destructo robot action figures were also on a higher shelf. Doc picked up an original Super Destructo Mark I. The current model was missing. He looked over the hyper-detailed action figure. Not surprised because Mike had helped build the real robots. Was it out yet? Mike made some good money off these, Doc thought. Timmy sat on the bed. He had been crying and had tried hard to stop. Doc sat down next to him. It's you and me until school's out, Doc said. Why did Mom and Dad have to leave? Because some people don't like our way of life, Doc said. I know Dad is a supervillain, Timmy said. So is your mom, and she's very good at it too. When did you find out? Doc said. A couple months ago, Dad had on the uniform. I came home from school early. He had me promise not to say anything, Timmy said. At least Timmy's not manifesting powers. The kid is too young for that, Doc thought. You like the Destructo robots? Doc said, handing the plastic toy robot to Timmy. Yeah. Let's go to the shop, Doc said, getting up. Where? Timmy said. Doc turned around. Did your dad say which supervillain he was? No, Timmy said. They drove out of town for about 20 minutes. Doc turned down an abandoned road leading to a junkyard. The sign above the gate said, Scarello Industries. Where are we? Timmy said. Your dad never brought you here? Doc said. No. We own a junkyard? It's a front for the real work, Doc said. They drove to the back to stop at a car pile. Doc pressed a remote. A drone forklift rolled out of a shed to move the cars away from a ramp. Lights flickered to show a tunnel. Keep your mouth shut about this, or it's not a secret lair, Doc said. The rusty claustrophobic junkyard gave way to a tunnel leading to pristine floors and open space. The goons are keeping the place up and have everything in order, Doc said. Goons? Timmy said. Employees, Doc said. The car stopped in a dark hangar bay, and Doc waved to a goon in a black jumpsuit. Dr. Skar? The goon said. Morning, Ken. Turn on the floodlights, Doc said. The goon ran off to a power panel. The floodlights revealed an 30-foot-tall mech. It bristled with miniguns and autocannons in the torso and shoulders. Flamethrowers in the left hand and a sawed-off tank cannon ran under the right arm. A Skar emblem crossed the chest. Super Destructo? Timmy said as he looked up. Yes. Super Destructo Mark VII. My greatest creation. But it's not a robot. It needs a pilot. Doc said. That means? Timmy said. I am the fiendish Dr. Skar, Doc said. And Dad? Timmy said. Skar, he never started the doctoral program. Doc knelt next to Timmy and waved his hand across the hangar bay. Timmy, this lair originally belonged to Atticus Scarello, your great-great-grandfather. He used it during the Civil War, Doc said. Whose side was he on? Timmy said. The Scarello side. Timmy, this is your legacy, your destiny, Doc said. I'm getting a robot? Timmy said. No, the family business. This is the Scarello organization. Also called Skar Org. Our mission statement names us as a band of freedom fighters bent on purging the world of corrupt political influence using giant robots. Your dad was only a few years older when I first brought him here. Soon, Timmy, you will have the chance to take over the world, Doc said. But, I want to be a superhero, Timmy said. What? Doc looked around to see if any goons heard. Timmy, our family's driving ambition has been to take over the world, Doc said. Why? Timmy said. Look at the job the people running it are doing. Just look at the place, Doc said. I don't want to take over the world or be a supervillain. I want Mom and Dad back, Timmy said. Timmy, we've been doing this for 5 generations, Doc said. What has it gotten us? Timmy said. Your grandmother has a condo in Florida. Doc said. Mom and Dad are in jail, Timmy said as a slightly overweight man approached them. Dr. Skar, we need you in the command center, the chief goon said. Doc, Timmy, and the chief goon watched the news broadcasts inside the lair's command center. The lower third ran. Aliens attack Earth. Invaders from space. Not the little green men we expected. Insect creatures poured from scarab-shaped landing ships. They dragged people up the ramps. The city of Columbus was in flames. Doc, there are landings all over the East Coast. The League of Science has issued a full mobilization. The goons are getting their families in here while they can, the chief said. Doc pulled the chief goon aside while Timmy watched the TV. Prep the Super Destructo for launch in case they come this way, Doc said. The chief nodded and left. Timmy switched to the local news. The heroes of Columbus fought to repel the invaders in the downtown area. Timmy watched Captain Buckeye punch his way through the aliens. Kimberly Star, empowered by science and the might of a dying star, energy blasted the Ant-Men. The red bullet was a streak on television. A never-ending wave of aliens tore through the city. Grandpa, we should help, Timmy said. We should sit back and watch the show, Doc said. But the heroes are losing. We got to do something, Timmy said. The heroes are losing? Doc said and watched the TV. Grandpa, if we can't defend the Earth, we have no right to take it over, Timmy said. Thoughts ran through the Doc's head as the super science triggered. The heroes will lose. An alien invasion, this is bigger than my ambitions, Doc thought. Timmy might not be safe anywhere on the planet. So he picked up the red phone. The lair's overhead PA system clicked on. This is Dr. Skar. We launch Super Destructo in 10, Doc said. A few minutes later, Super Destructo lifted from the hangar bay out into the junkyard. Timmy sat in the co-pilot seat with the sleeves and legs of his jumpsuit rolled up. Super Destructo slowly walked out of the junkyard. Timmy, you need to let the mech warm up with a walk. Never run right away. After the plasma reactor is up to full pressure and the joint servos and magnets are warm, you can go all out, Doc said. Okay. A swarm of quad drones lifted from the hangar to circle the mech as it did a range of motion warm-up. Soon with a step over the wire fence put them on the interstate. Super Destructo ran for Columbus. Kimberly Star had never been in a fight like this before, and the heroes of Columbus were in trouble. She watched Captain Buckeye punch his way through line after line of bugs. Finally, he fell under a pile of bodies, overwhelmed. Red Bullet raced around to pull people away from danger. But he can't keep up. Finally, a fast bug showed up to chase him around the convention center. Downtown Columbus was in chaos. Kimberly blasted the insects with her energy beams. She could rip unending lines of them apart until one arrived with a reflective shell. Her energy beams bounced off, tearing a gouge in a nearby building. Soon Kimberly found herself cornered by the ant-like soldiers. I could unleash my full power. But that will destroy a few blocks, Kimberly thought. A tremor moved through the ground, and Kimberly expected more bugs. But the ones attacking stopped. Their eyes reflected movement behind her. Before any could lay a claw on Star, a massive steel fist smashed the insects. She turned, and the whine of servos and magnets clicked as a giant mech's legs straddled her. A steel foot dropped on the bug that chased Red Bullet. It was Super Destructo. An armored hand reached into the pile of Ant-Men. He pulled the state hero out by his ankle, brushed the clinging Ant-Men off and set Buckeye down. A horde of ant soldiers charged the robot to meet a hail of minigun and autocannon fire. The buzz of the minigun drowned out all other noise, and the thump of the autocannons rattled Kimberly's teeth. Finally, the heroes joined up at the feet of Super Destructo under a rain of spent brass. The circling drones would find a target, fly out and explode a mini-directional mine over a group of Ant-Men. Soon the area was clear. Just couldn't stay in prison, could you, Skar? Captain Buckeye said at the mech. Kimberly released an energy blast at Super Destructo. The robot staggered back, a gouge cut into the armor. Every television and radio receiver in the vicinity flickered and then played Timmy's voice. Hey! Grandpa is trying to help, Timmy said over the video phone. Grandpa, Captain Buckeye said. He waved Kimberly back. Timmy, give me the mic. Captain Buckeye, this is Dr. Skar. My grandson wanted me to help, Doc said. Doc? You're back? Fine. We can talk later. Let's kick these bugs out of the city, Captain Buckeye said. Lance, you can't possibly trust Dr. Skar, Kimberly said. We're going to need everyone for this, Kim, Buckeye said. The battle for downtown Columbus with the addition of Super Destructo turned into a rout. Doc piloted, and Timmy used the flamethrowers. The miniguns and autocannons had run dry. Doc pulled a street lamp from the ground to use as a club. He let Timmy have the arm controls for a time. Ant creatures went flying. Kids a natural, Doc thought. Buckeye and Star needed help keeping up. Red Bullet scouted ahead to find clusters of ant-men hiding in alleys and behind dumpsters. The drones would fly down with mini-mines. As the horde of insects fled the city, the citizens of Columbus, hidden in their homes, felt the change. Soon groups of men armed with deer guns followed in pickup trucks. They chased the invaders back to the landing ships. The remaining horde scrambled to get aboard. Outside, 4 large ant creatures stood guard. Kimberly Star unleashed a beam of energy containing the anger of a dying sun. The giant ant roasted in its shell. Timmy turned the last of the flamethrowers on another. Captain Buckeye punched one back a few feet. It never got back up. The 4th tackled Super Destructo, driving giant mandibles into the armor. An energy blast knocked the giant back. Timmy gave an oof and jostled his chair. Doc took the controls to smash it with the street lamp. Super Destructo fell to its knee as hydraulic fluid leaked like blood. The last of the drones exploded over the ship. Doc aimed the arm-mounted tank gun. He had saved it for the end. 5 shots pounded into the Scarab ship as it lifted from the ground. Smoke poured from the hull as Doc and Timmy watched it climb into the sky. A 5th ant creature had waited behind the lander. The heroes tried to get the civilians away. The monstrosity charged Super Destructo. The robot remained kneeling and grabbed the mandibles of the ant creature. The cockpit shook with the impact. Dozens of abandoned ant soldiers swarmed the mech. Buckeye, get everyone clear, Doc said over the video phone. Doc shoved a helmet onto Timmy's head and tightened the seat belts. His hand hit the big red eject button. Super Destructo's head blasted off the shoulders up into the air. The mech's plasma reactor spiked to critical and detonated. The escape pod didn't gain enough altitude for the parachute. Butterflies danced in Doc's stomach at the peak. They dropped. It slammed into the ground hard. Doc came back to the world. The emergency lights cast odd shadows around the cockpit. Timmy? Doc said. A spike of pain made it hurt to breathe. I'm here. Timmy said. Still got all your fingers and toes? Doc said. He turned to Timmy and felt pain in his ribs. Yeah, Timmy said. I got a few broken ribs, but I should be fine, Doc said. Doc checked the emergency beacon. It was active. The goons would send out the recovery team. The heroes should let them through. The heroes. I'm working with Buckeye. This changed fast. And Timmy, Doc thought. Timmy, you did well today. I'm proud of you. I'll pull some strings about getting you into Great Lakes United, Doc said. Really? Timmy said. Yeah, really, Doc said. Grandpa, I guess I could try to take over the world, Timmy said. At least try it once for me, at least once, and take your time. When you're ready, Doc said. I will, when I'm ready, Timmy said. The goons arrived with the heavy lift trucks and a medical team. Captain Buckeye helped the goons cut Doc and Timmy out of the pod. Captain Buckeye waved as the goons and medics loaded Doc and Timmy into the ambulance, then he flew away. Wow, Captain Buckeye, Timmy said as the ambulance doors closed. And you helped save his butt, Doc said. Doc and Timmy ended up in a FEMA medical station. They were with the injured heroes and a few villains. Doc knew they had gotten off easily. He waited for a nurse to tape his ribs. Timmy had a bruise on his knee. 5 hours. We beat them in 5 hours. Janelle is going to be so angry I brought him along. But the kid did good, Doc thought. By late afternoon, Captain Buckeye came to the medical station. The heroes and first responders gathered around him for news. The aliens have been driven off. We've saved the Earth, Buckeye said. Doc saw Timmy's fascination as Buckeye worked the room talking with each hero, officer, or medic. There was no helping it. The kid was going to be a hero. Buckeye took time to talk with the villains. First, he thanked them for their help. Then he got to Doc and Timmy. Timmy, Doc said. Grandpa? I got to talk with the captain. Go check up on the goons, Doc said. Buckeye smiled as Timmy ran out of the room. Dr. Skar held up his hand before Buckeye could say anything. Lance, I'll fully cooperate if my son and daughter-in-law get released under the amnesty, Doc said. We owe you one this time. I'll get them out, Buckeye said. The end. Doc and Timmy will return in. From villainy to valor. Text-to-speech audio provided by Narrakeet at narrakeet.com. Audio editing provided by Audacity at audacityteam.org. Invasion Day stories can be read at loganhousepub.substack.com. Logan House Publishing audio is available on YouTube and loganhousepub.substack.com podcast. Thank you for listening. Copyright 2023. Logan House Publishing. All rights reserved.